Okay, so now that we have our dialog and it looks okay, let's go ahead and make it actually do something. So I want to add a calculate button here, and when you click on it, I use AJAX to send this data to a PHP page in the back end, and then the PHP page is going to create a JSON object and send that result back to JavaScript using AJAX, and then JavaScript is going to display the results on this side here. So let's go ahead and start with, under Actions, I'm going to, even though I already have this calcombs, I'm going to create a new one anyhow. So PHP file, and I'm going to call this do calculate. And then first thing this is going to do is it's going to be returning a JSON object. So it's going to set the content type to application / JSON. And then I'm going to create a results object. And then I'm going to have to get the stuff that was passed in. And I'm going to go ahead and use post here, not because I really need to for this particular calculator, but because in the next lab, we're actually going to be sending password information, username and password information. And so we really don't want to put that in the URL, even though you have to go through some steps to actually get to the URL here when you're using AJAX. I'm still going to use post method. And so let's get our volts is $ under post, and then we need the input volts key, which is in constant. So let's go ahead and require that. So require once assets. Actually, this is running from here. So this is inside of actions, and we want to load this, which is inside of include. So what we want to do is go ... to get to the assets folder, and then / includes / calculator constants. Okay, so the correct path here is ... / include / calculator constants.php. So this path is relative to where this page is getting loaded from. So now we should have our in volts key and ohms equal $ under post in ohms key. Now, so one word about error checking here. Now, I'm not checking to see whether these are actually passed in and not null and valid and all that other stuff, because this really isn't user-facing. There really should be only data sent from this page here that's getting to this page. So if I'm sending bad data, that means that there's probably something wrong here. And so I'm going to treat this as an input validation problem on the front end rather than doing a lot of error checking here, just to keep the back end stuff as simple as possible. If this was user facing and user could basically type in anything, well, I'd have more of a problem. So let's go ahead and just go with this for now. And I have volts and ohms, so let's calculate amps, which is volts over ohms, and watts, which is amps times volts. And then let's set the properties of our return object. And I'm going to pass back the volts and pass back the ohms, and also pass back the new values, amps, and pass back the watts. And then I'm going to return the JSON result. And that should be everything I need here for my backend script. Now in the front end, when the user clicks on the calculate button, I want to go ahead and execute that AJAX query. So that's going to happen in JavaScript here. First thing I'm going to do is add another button. So here's the Done button. And before the Done button, I want a Calculate button. And then when the user clicks on that, it's going to run a function that does the AJAX part. And so $.post, and I need to specify the URL relative to this page where this is getting loaded. So this is going to be assets, actions, do calculate. And then it's also going to pass in the contents of the input field set. So let's actually do this. So $hash input fields dot serialize. And then if this call is successful and AJAX runs and returns a result, I want to run a function on the result. So function, so this is a callback function that gets whatever AJAX returned, whatever the page returned. And what I want to do is set the values in my output form. So I have the out volts key, echo this. So this is the output volts key, and for this to work I actually need my require as well. So let's require once, and then once again this is here, so I need assets includes calculator constants. Okay. So this is the volts key dot, and then to set the value of this I use val, and the value is going to be data dot volts. Let's make this a little bigger here. Okay, so that's the first one. And then I want to do the same for ohms and watts and amps. So ohms and amps and watts. And then ohms, amps, and watts. Okay, so for this to work, the output field has to have an ID of output volts key. And I don't think it does right now, yeah. So it has name output volts key, but it doesn't have ID. And I don't actually need name for these output forms. You need the name for input forms, because that's what ends up in the data you pass in, the key. But for here, since I'm not passing any values, I don't need the key here, but I do need the ID. And I think that's it. So let's see how we do. Reload. Oh, nope, so I have an error. So let's see what we have. Unexpected token. All right, so calculator.js is not working. So couldn't find assets includes calculator constants. And looks like I have a problem there. So doesn't look like this. Oh, this is actually in here, not in here. So this thing loads this thing, And so this thing needs to just get that. So there we go. So the calculator constants is in the same folder as calculator.js. All right, so let's try it now. Good, so that works. Show the calculator. Let's actually try that again. So let's go 110 volts at 5 ohms. Calculate. So nothing happened. Let's see if we got an error. Oh, I didn't add a click method here. So let me fix this. So actually, let's go ahead and put a breakpoint in the source code. So let's see if this code is getting called at all. Calculate. Yep, so that's getting called. And then I'll put a breakpoint here as well. Continue. So this code is getting called, and my data object has the right properties on it. Oh, I need hash signs here. So this should be hash sign out volts, hash sign out ohms, and so on for the ID. So let's add a hash sign. And reload. Show calculator, 110 volts and 5 ohms, calculate. And there's my results. So 22 amps, 2420 volts. How about 10 ohms? Calculate. How about 30 volts at 1 ohm, 900 watts. And so everything's looking good. Done. Show calculator. 300 volts at 1 ohm, 90,000 watts. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, so that looks like it for this lab. Look forward to seeing your simple calculators.